Hi, I'm Jillian, and welcome to the show. I offer spiritual growth for the rebel soul, guiding you through the labyrinth of your own ascension path. This show is for the rebel souls that challenge the status quo, those that crave authenticity in every single aspect of their lives, that desire to embrace their uniqueness, follow their passions, connect to their soul, and live according to who they truly are, even if that means having the courage to go against the grain or the norms of society. If that's you, my spiritual soul seeker, rebel warrior, then this is the place for you. On this podcast, we speak about everything from spirituality, sexuality, conscious relationships, business, and literally everything in between. So if that's your jam, then stay tuned. And go on, be a rebel and subscribe. You know you want to. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I am so happy. I know it's been a little while since I've had another guest, but I am back on it. And I have an amazing guest today, which is the beautiful Amelie. And she's been studying astrology for the past 9 years. She is an amazing content creator. She's got her bachelor's in psychology, which I love because, we love to bring the esoteric practical. And I just want you to introduce yourself. You have a really interesting entrepreneurial story, I think. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your path with astrology.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. When it comes, I don't even know where to start. I guess, if I traced fully back to my journey, I'd say 11 years old. I was posting Musicallys when I first got started. I don't know if anyone knows Musically. But content creation and self-expression of any form has always been something that I've just felt drawn to. Like I have to get this stuff out. I have to talk about these things. So I'd study all the self-improvement. I'd study, okay, what does it mean to be a good person? What does self-growth really mean? And slowly you kind of trickle along that ladder and then you figure out faith and spirituality and what do I believe in and what is energy? And from there, it was really the point where I learned that I'm an Aries moon at 29 degrees, so very intense, potent part in my chart. And it read me to a T. So the moon sign really talks about our family, our relationship with our mom or our primary like mother figure, which everybody can just look up in their chart.
Mhm.
And I never felt so deeply seen in my life until I read a description about my moon sign. And from there, I was just reading all of my friends' moon signs, just passing around this information, and they felt really seen too. So I think that just opened a cascade of events for like, I have to learn more. I have to understand more about myself through astrology. And I really believe it's one of the most amazing gifts of self growth, like self growth tools. And that if more people had it in their hands, they could live a more empowered life. Because I think we give our power away to others a lot of the time.
Yep.
So I just decided to dedicate my life to astrology. I didn't know forever. I think I just recently committed myself fully the past 3 years, but I've been studying it since I was really young. And that's a little bit about my journey so far.
I love that. 11 years old. That's crazy. It's so because you've built a huge platform at a young age. I look back and now and there's so many of these amazing creators and spiritual beings that are still have built so much at such a young age. And I'm always like, "Oh my God, I was like climbing trees when I was 11," like So what do you think you've built a really great platform again like at a young age. Like what do you think people have connected with the most?
From my platform, what
Yeah.
they've connected with. That's a great question. I haven't really reflected on that. I think
Mm.
that when you're younger, there is a you have an easier time pushing the boundaries and taking risks, I would say. I believe that the older that we get, and I'm kind of feeling this now too, is
Girl.
we
Yeah.
want to tread lighter. We want to just be like, okay, I'm a bit worried about how will this be perceived or my reputation or my image. And when we're younger, if we have a lot of Leo in our chart, there's this childlike, innocent joy of I'm just going to play and have fun. There's definitely a shadow side to that of I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to hurt people's feelings. And I've made many mistakes over the years, but that's how we learn. And so I think the advantage is tripping and falling a lot in my younger years and just experimenting, throwing out all these things, and then giving others the opportunity to feel like, wow, she just went for it. And I can also do that. So it gives people permission to not really see age as a barrier anymore, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I guess what's your take on it? When did you start your platform?
So like I said to you before, I was very reckless as a younger person. So I took a lot of risks. You know, I traveled the world. After I finished uni, I studied English literature, traveled the world. And then I moved. So I've lived in many different countries. And then I started my career in recruitment. And I managed to build a very successful career for myself. I was very ambitious. Like it's like I had something to prove, you know, the not being seen thing, relate. So I built a really successful full career in London, and then I moved to Australia and set up a whole business by myself. Again, still very young. I actually had a business partner. And we scaled that to 7 figures. And we had that for 7.5 years. I then shifted into my spiritual work. Like I was still studying my spiritual work, gosh, for like 11 years until I eventually made the move. Like I always knew at some point that I was meant to do something with my spiritual work, but I had my business. I had like a very successful business. But there came a point where I was so dissatisfied with, and the universe will make you very uncomfortable, right? It will make you very uncomfortable. I know I had to have that experience for the wisdom that that created and the experiences that I had for who I'm meant to help now. So I didn't shift into doing the spiritual work. And when I made a big decision to close down my very successful business, you know, it was a huge decision. And that was in 2022. So I cut ties. I moved away and I was like, okay, I know I meant to do this work. So if this is what I meant to do, show me the way, guides, you know, show me what I'm supposed to do with this. Because even though I'd experienced and studied like 11 different modalities, I was here, as we all are, here to create our own thing. And that's been a continual learning curve. So I was like later on in my life and my career when I actually moved into this work. And that's what I mean. I see so many amazing, like so wise younger beings in their 20s. And I'm like, oh my God, if only I was like that. But I do believe we're all here in divine timing and everything is supposed to um, happen in the right time based on, you know, our soul path. So yeah. And this is probably just something for, you know, those maybe the message here for all of my audiences, doesn't matter how old you are, right? Like I was like thinking potentially I was too late to make this shift. And, you know, have I missed the boat? Which is never the case, guys. And also, if you're young, it doesn't mean that you can't build something and you can't be looked at with a sense of wisdom, you know? Because sometimes if you move into something and you're guiding people when you're young, maybe you feel like you can. Actually, who am I? I've had, you know, limited life experience. Who am I to actually guide people in a way? Well, who's to say you can't? If you are called to this work, then you have people that are here to listen to you and follow you, no matter your age, no matter what constraints there are. Like I'm very much about, I call everyone that's connected to me the rebel soul because you have a rebel soul. You are willing to go against the grain, willing to go against the norm, and that also includes age.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. And I think that's so interesting too to think about kind of the timeline of that and how there are a lot of like younger generations waking up and just sharing all these things online. And I wonder if it actually just ties us to 2020 with like the pandemic. And I think a lot of people were waking up spiritually. And I don't know if that was around the year that you were kind of getting more into the transition and leaving that like successful business.
Mhm.
So I wonder if it's less about the age of younger people, but it's more about the year of like, wow, this was a big awakening for our world. And I think that it's really important, as you were touching on, of if someone feels called to share things around intuition, spirituality, anything in that realm, and you're somebody who practices that and you try it out on your friends, you try it out on other people, and you visually or intuitively feel like this made an impact on them. Or you get an emotional reaction. Like I've had people cry, and I was like, I just told you something that excited me, but this impacted you in a way that you needed to hear. I think that's when you start realizing, like, wow, this is not in my head. I do need to get this out there.
Yeah.
And there's that self-doubt, I think, that comes along, especially if Virgo placements, if anyone is Capricorn and Virgo, you have that imposter syndrome. But at the end of the day, like, there's a bigger purpose that we're serving here.
Totally. And I do believe so 2012 was I had a massive awakening in 2012 and then 2020 was obviously another huge one. So I agree with you. There's these periods of the collective that have really caused like tremendous shifts. I've seen so many people post 2020 start their spiritual business, which is exactly what happened with me. I stopped drinking, I stopped, my life completely changed into 2020. So 100% believe that. And with, you mentioned the Virgo placements there. Now I have three Virgo placements in my chart, as you know. How, what is the significance of the Virgo placement and the imposter syndrome? Because I haven't heard that before.
Okay, yes. And to verify, you have Virgo, Venus, and Mars, and then is it Mercury?
I have, yep, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Yep.
Yeah, so especially Mercury is going to be a big one, and Mars, because Mars is what drives you. So let's say you have a Virgo Mars or a Capricorn Mars. You are driven by goals, perfection. You want to do everything you can to get to that standard. And when you're going to probably set a really high standard because you have so much energy behind you to get there. So then along the way, you're like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. So there's this constant voice in your head that is a checklist of what is next to do. And if you're not doing it, it can feel really hard to rest because that's how your energy naturally operates. And then Mercury is the mind, how we think, how we speak, our messaging. So if your mind is in Virgo or Earth or something very goal focused, you're always fixated on that. So your thoughts are supporting your path there. So it can really create that imposter syndrome. There's multiple sections in the chart, excuse me, that do that. But I think Virgo is of service. Like this is the service archetype. So when you're not only trying to do something for yourself, but for other people, the volume just gets like cranked up 100 times because you feel that if I don't do this, it's going to let them down. And that adds even more of a pressure on yourself.
Mm. So what do you do to mitigate that?
Great question. So mitigation, it can sound cheesy, but self-love and allowing yourself to rest is a huge thing. When I talk with clients, the biggest thing is I tell them, you're so good at scheduling. Why don't you schedule 2 hours of rest and you make it a non-negotiable? That's probably the easiest thing to do is instead of just scheduling work, schedule a night routine or a rest period or time without your phone. And also secondary to that is ask yourself, what do I tie my worth and my self-love onto? Do I tie it to my achievements, how many views I get, how much money my business is generating? Or do I just allow myself to say, no matter what happens, no matter what the numbers are, I am worthy? So just really reflecting on that. I guess, do you have any practices that you've learned so far?
Practices that I have, gosh, yeah, so many because that is a theme that has, and this is what I always say to my business clients as well, especially if you have a business, you will always go through cycles and we all have our own self-sabotage. We all have our own patterns, whether that's procrastination or whether that's overworking and overdoing. I'm the overworking and overdoing, and it's still something that I have to check myself on. Even to this day, even being, 11 years in entrepreneurship and having two businesses, it is something that I have to keep in check. Otherwise, I am prone to burnout, and being so energetically sensitive, I have to look after my energy. Like that's just the first and foremost. So it's exactly the things that you said. I do the sauna. I do breath work every morning. I will meditate every morning. I will ground myself every morning. I have very strict energetic um, protocols before I jump on a call, after a call. I have my red light. I make sure I move. I get out in the sun. It's just really, really simple things that help me so much because I absolutely have a propensity to be a workaholic, I know that. So it's so important to have those things. And then on the flip side, if you tend to procrastinate, I have one of my best friends who owns an entrepreneurial business too, an online business, and she flips on the other side. So again, it's finding the balance of like what's going to work for each of us. Even things like body work, massage, because you can, if you're in the mind, you can get so highly stressed. So having those things that help you get back into the body is just so key and free.
Right. Yeah. And then having the Virgo or like a Taurus or Capricorn is earth sign. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, how can we physically ground
Yeah.
ourselves in the moment? Walking barefoot in the morning is so nice. Sauna, I think, is really good for Scorpio placements because
Mhm.
this is the sign of detox. Scorpios love to like obsess and go into something that's all consuming. And that's why they're one of the best, like hardworking signs there is for business. Cause it's like if it's a high stakes environment, I'm ready. I'm like going to jump in. It's all or nothing. And you need to detox yourself a lot when you have Scorpio because, all of that all or nothing, it adds up. It really like boils your blood in a sense. So detoxing foods, all things like that. Like if people have a Scorpio sixth house, I always recommend that. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting.
Why does Scorpio sixth house out of interest? Because again, I haven't heard this about Scorpio, so I'm loving the information you're giving me because it's stuff that I haven't heard before, which I'm all about. Yeah, so
Really?
why
Okay.
the sixth house?
So sixth house is digestion, it's daily routines.
Okay.
It's also the house of Virgo traditionally. So,
Mm.
if you have a lot of Virgo in your chart or you have a Virgo sixth house, you probably have sensitive digestion. I wouldn't be surprised if you're lactose or gluten intolerant, especially when like a new or full moon is in Virgo, then you can have like digestion flare-ups. But so when we look at the sixth house, even if you have no planets there at all, you want to see what zodiac sign is ruling my sixth house, because this will tell you about what eating patterns work. Is it better if you snack throughout the day? Can you have meal prep and eat the same thing the whole week, or do you need a lot of variety, intermittent fasting, all of that? So, I mean, I came from a background where I have a Leo sixth house and I was over restricting, or I was trying like veganism and all these things, not prioritizing protein, which you definitely can in veganism, but I wasn't.
Mhm.
And I got a digestive disorder, which completely made me realize, okay, all of the things that I naturally gravitated towards are written in my chart. Yet I told myself I have to do what the influencers or society or all these health channels are telling me. And
Mhm.
then it turned out like I was bloated. I got the worst depression of my life.
Wow.
And if I just listened to the fact of, prioritize protein, eat 3 meals a day, and it depends on your whole entire chart, but this is just an easy thing to look at.
Yeah.
Now I feel a lot better. And not only does it show your digestion, it also shows on a daily basis. Like if you have a water sign, ruled sixth house, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, it might, or Cancer and Pisces specifically, emotions are going to come and go in waves on your daily basis. So it's hard for you to stick to a consistent schedule
Mm.
because one day you're really going to feel it. And the next day you are just down and you're tired and you don't want to do anything. So I get a lot of clients that are really frustrated because they say, I've tried so many things, I've tried to stick to this, but for some reason, after 2 weeks, I just quit. And I'm like, well, that's because you're designing your routine in a way that's like suffocating you. It's more for an earth sign sixth house because earth signs are like, give me the list,
Yeah.
let's do it, I'll check it off.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, I love how astrology, as I said, it really pinpoints these things, and that's what intuition does as well, right? It's like when you are tuned into your intuition, you can intuitively know what's right for you to eat on a given basis. Like I'm not someone that will stick to certain things. Like I can for a little while, but then like my diet has to change. Like I just go with the flow of this week it's kind of something and then the next week it's something completely different. Like it's so I don't actually know what my I have in my sixth house. It's none of my big ones anyway, my main ones. So I actually don't know. I'll have to go check that.
So if your seventh house is Gemini, then your sixth
Yeah.
house is going to be Cancer because Aries,
Oh,
Taurus,
that makes
or
sense.
sorry, not Cancer,
Oh.
Taurus,
Oh,
Aries, Taurus, Gemini. So Taurus sixth house, but then I'd wonder what planets. Do you have any planets in Taurus?
no. No.
No Taurus planets? Okay, that's really interesting. Um, I'd wonder how Venus is aspected in your chart because the ruling planet of the sixth house really matters. Um, but then it's like Taurus is very grounded and indulgent and pleasurable. So you could be a big foodie. So if you're eating the same thing all the time, it's like, okay, this is boring. I want to actually have fun with my food. I want things to feel indulgent. So like
Yes.
candles are making the setting really pretty and Venusian and nice and having a sweet treat here and there. Restriction or feeling like you're caged in is going to really harm a relationship with food if you have that placement.
Yeah, 100%. I never restrict. A restriction is just not nothing that I've ever done or would want to do. So, yeah.
Right.
That's very like me. I'm like, I want to have it, it's like one of those things. But I also there is a part of me that also is, if I am on a like going through a fitness phase, then, tracking everything is really helpful for me because again, it's like it's taking off that to-do list. But it's actually getting to that point where I'm doing it and I'm seeing the results and then I'm like, okay, cool, I can do this. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of helps in your brain too. If you have a lot of Virgo energy, it's
Yeah.
just easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to track. Yeah.
Yeah. I have lists everywhere. I've got like post-it notes everywhere, pads everywhere. I'm a list gal.
Yeah. Physically writing it down, it just feels so good because you have so much like energy in your brain all the time
Mm.
and you just want to get it out. You want to feel a bit like you're dumping out the trash can a little bit.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. And I also have such great insights at night as well. When your mind is more at rest, I have downloads all the time, unfortunately. So the creative juices are always running, but sometimes it's like, okay, I need to get this out and down before I can even go to sleep.
Right. Yeah. I've heard that before too, is like some of the best downloads we'll ever get are near the times we're falling asleep because we're entering that subconscious state or that slower brainwave state.
Yeah.
And yeah, the dream journaling aspect I think is really important too. I want to start doing that where it's like, you're waking up because I wake up in the middle of the night a lot. I have a lot of active like 12th house energy and I just get these crazy dreams or insights. And the times that I actually write it down and stick with it, like you're saying too, is just it gives you insight in the waking life of, okay, this is like the direct intuitive message. I'm meant to implement this, but it turns off after like the first 10 minutes of waking up if I never write it down. I just forget about it.
Totally. Yeah, because it is you're in that piece where you're in a different brainwave. So it's just like the same as meditation, before bed and then when you wake up, you're going into a more deep relaxed state, which is where our insights can come through, where spirit can actually speak to us. And then obviously when we're in our dream state as well. So yeah, definitely I'm a big dream interpreter. So, spirit will come to us with insights in our dreams. Our past on loved ones will come to us in our dreams. Your body is just processing subconscious experiences from that day or the things that are coming up to be healed. The dream state is such a fascinating place.
That really is. And if anyone listening has like a lot of Neptune or Pisces prominent energy in their chart, or even Scorpio too. Scorpio is very like intuitive, deep, but Neptune is the planet of dreams. And so the 12th house is the planet of dreams as well. You can really see, what's my relationship to sleep? Am I getting a lot of downloads? Is my mind very active? Do I have a very vast imagination as a child?
Mm.
And sometimes I think that when I talk to people who are doing spiritual or psychic work and I see their chart, it's just so much in the 12th house going on, or so much Pisces, so much Neptunian energy. This is really like, magic on earth. Like these people can dream up a fantasy in their mind and go to all these beautiful places and access different dimensions. And just then
Mm.
you have that practical energy, like the earth signs, and you bring it into form. But if you don't have a lot of grounded earth sign energy in your chart, it can be more of like a spiritual lifetime for you where you're doing a lot of upper chakra work.
Yeah, and sometimes that it needs to be both, right? Like I truly believe that you can be so up in the clouds and so let's quote unquote spiritual, but if it isn't grounded in we live on earth, right? It's like we are still a soul having a spiritual experience, but we're still having an earthly experience. So it's like, is there a balance of the meaning of two?
Right. Yeah, we definitely need that balance. And when people are feeling ungrounded, I'm always like, okay, look at where you have earth signs in your chart. Even if you don't have planets, what sign are they, like what house are they ruling? So if it's ruling your third house, you know, siblings, neighborhoods, talking to people, I'm like, okay, you're going to be grounded when you're talking in a conversation. So have people around you, go out in community. This is going to help ground you, for example.
Oh, amazing. That's so cool. Okay, so for my listeners out there, because yes, all of my listeners are intuitive, and I'm sure some have, I know a lot of my clients struggle to ground themselves. So if they have earth signs in, for example, I have Virgo in my eighth house 3 times. So what would help me ground as an example?
Honestly, that's an interesting one. So Virgo in your eighth, do you, and then you have Taurus in your sixth though. So I would probably look at Taurus first because it's a lot easier to ground through food. Daily food rituals would be good for you, like really sitting and having a sensory experience, setting the table, having like essential oils in the air or nice candles, having a lot of like physical sensory things while you're eating would be a way for you because if we're looking at the eighth house is very it's a very spiritual house. So if I looked at the earth sign there, I wouldn't find a lot of practices that come to mind right away of okay, how can we ground you? Because if I was looking at the eighth house, I would say ground you through
Meditation.
um like talk probably through one-on-one relationships like intimate or like romantic relationships talking about your feelings could be very grounding for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And mhm.
That's so interesting. And the food thing for sure. I can't sleep unless I have carbs at night. Like it's just impossible. I need to have grounded food. I need to have something like a root vegetable, like a potato. Otherwise, I will not sleep. So
That's good to know. Wow, that's interesting. So it kind of grounds you before you go into that dream state. It like puts you in your body because you're processing it. Oh, okay.
absolutely. You know, when you were talking about you've tried different ways of eating, and I have noticed that if I don't have carbs with dinner, then I'm like wired. Like I cannot sleep. So it's a necessity. So yeah, just so many things. That makes sense for my Taurus. So
Yeah.
you mentioned that a lot of like intuitives that you've seen have a lot of like Neptunian energy or Piscean energy in their chart. What else have you seen for people that are either naturally designed for spiritual entrepreneurship or just entrepreneurship in general?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So there's the whole chart definitely matters, but some key indicators, I want to see it like 3 times within your chart before I'm like, okay, this is for you. So for example, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, Midheaven.
Mm,
Um, Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces rising sign. When it comes to your IC or your descendant being that, I wouldn't instantly think of it. Having Aquarius as your rising sign is another one because Uranus rules Aquarius, and this is like genius electric insight. Think of the people who get fast downloads and they don't know where it comes from. It's just like boom in your mind. So that's one I would say sometimes Aquarius on the midheaven or Sagittarius on the midheaven because Sagittarius and Aquarius is very much like astrology. So a lot of astrologers or people who I'm like, you are meant to be an astrologer will have one of those patterns in their chart. Sagittarius rising, definitely, because this is, you know, like belief system, inspiration, faith. So that's
mm,
going to be key. Stelliums in Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, and stellium in the eighth house, stellium possibly in the fourth house, but I would focus more on a stellium on in the 12th or the eighth house
yeah.
specifically. But those are some key placements. The type of water sign that you have a lot of energy in is going to express your intuition differently. So if you have a lot of Pisces, that's like many Pisces placements in the 12th house, Pisces, midheaven, Pisces rising, Pisces stellium.
Hmm.
This is more of a visionary, dream-like, um, permeable intuition. So you walk into a room and you just feel everything. You soak it up like a sponge. And you're also, while you're walking, half of your body is like on the other side of the veil. This is what it's like. Like you're walking in a dream when you have a lot of Pisces energy. So you're kind of constantly tapped in with that antenna. And that's why Pisces can be really sensitive. You're like in the dream world. Cancer, though, this adds a little bit of grounding. This is the great compassionate intuitive. Like, I can sit across from you. I intuitively know what you need. I can understand things about your past, your family, your ancestry, your loved ones, mediumship. That those are all the themes of Cancer, I would really say. And this is also a very like moody emotional sign. So they need time alone because they absorb everything, but it's more on like a collective level. I feel that Cancer absorbs it. Scorpio, this is like, Scorpio is the deepest, most transformative zodiac sign. So they're not here for just like the fantasy dream-like manifestation. If you've gone through some of the craziest trauma you've ever been through in your life, or just worse than you could imagine, a Scorpio will hold your hand and they will walk through it with you. They're not afraid. Like, these are the people that are some of the most brave souls there are. And that's only because they've been put through really hard things in their life. So I think if you're looking to deal with any like darker spiritual themes or trauma or really deep shadow heavy work with someone with a lot of Scorpio energy in their chart, which you literally have. And then for entrepreneurship in general, not spiritual entrepreneurship, um, major Sagittarius, major Aries, major Capricorn. But you know, there's a lot of, I definitely have to look at someone's chart, but those are just some instant things that pop up.
Yeah, amazing. But it's great to give people like an idea of like, oh my God, I have those, and then go in to do more research. For example, like I've got Scorpio in my moon in my 10th house, Scorpio and Saturn in my ninth house, Midheaven, and then I've got Sagittarius as my rising, my Jupiter in my 11th house. Yeah. So yeah, three Scorpio, two Jupiter, and three Scorpio, two Sag. So
Yeah, you definitely have a very, like when I heard Scorpio midheaven, I was like, yes,
mm,
literally. And you were in the Scorpio moon too, because
yeah.
moon is, emotions, intuition. This is a very intuitive planet too. So when you have it in a water sign, you also feel everything. You probably absorbed like the psychological motivations and power struggles and lies of everybody when you were growing up. Like, you could tell when someone was being fake. And, eventually you probably learned to really trust your gut because you were right most of the time.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, growing up, I had loads of health issues because I was picking up all the energy of everything and the trauma and the experiences around me. And it was just like your body just starts to shut down, right? And then you don't trust yourself. So that's like a whole journey that it takes. So yeah, I always see anyone that has like a Scorpio moon, you've been through some shit.
Yeah, definitely. It's so interesting too, because Scorpio risings, rising is how you come into the world, like how you're birthed. And
Mm.
risings have complications with their birth. A lot of them are like C-sections or something went wrong. Like, if you're a Scorpio rising watching this, talk to your mother and ask her if something particular happened, or if there was a challenge, if you were a C-section baby, because this is a Mars and Pluto ruled planet. Mars is like sharp objects, knife cutting, rashes. So there can be that
Oh,
initial challenge coming in. That makes sense.
that's so interesting. So did you say that was for the rising?
Yeah, Scorpio rising.
Ah, what about Sagittarius rising?
Sagittarius rising, I don't know anything specifically around birth that
Birth.
might be challenging.
Yeah.
But this is a placement where, you can talk to anyone from any background, culture, place, and you're probably the most well-traveled in the room, or just the most about so many subjects when
Mm,
you're talking to others. And Sagittarius risings, they need to go around the room and talk to people from all different places. They need a sense of expansion through conversation. And they're
mm,
so just interested in learning. And a big part of their life path is exposing themselves to new perspectives and getting out there in the world, experiencing.
for sure. Yeah, that's so me. Um, can you explain why some people, based on their chart, keep repeating the same life lesson? Does that show up
Oh
for
my
you?
gosh, probably one of my favorite.
Ah,
Would you say?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think biggest thing, look at your South Node sign. And so you want to see the zodiac sign your South Node is in, the house it's in, the planet that rules the sign it's in. But if you're going to look at one thing, just the sign. So
Okay.
my South Node is in Scorpio. And this is going to dictate, okay, what is comfortable to you? What feels safe? What feels like past life karma? I did this before. I don't need to keep doing this over and over again. And it gives you some gifts. So
Mm.
it's a challenging relationship sometimes. This is going to show you, like for me, I think that I have some assistance in psychology and some occult spiritual topics. I was naturally like gravitating towards that, but Scorpio on the negative side for me could be crisis, stuck in this energy of risk taking, of not slowing down, of obsessing, of just working really, really hard past my physical limitations and going on the spiritual side. So I'm kind of learning, okay, how can I go towards the opposite, which is the Taurus North Node for me. So your South Node, the opposite sign is always going to be your North Node.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you're going towards for fulfillment. So if you ever feel stuck in life, ask yourself, am I operating out of my South Node or my North Node? So for my North Node, Taurus is like slowing down, peace, building self-worth, not from external things, being okay with kind of the more like boring, calm, loving life where I'm receiving more feminine energy. So that's what I've been moving towards. And it's also stability and building. So I grew up in a lot of crisis and trauma and psychological challenges in my
Mm-hmm.
home environment. And now I'm kind of moving.
Yeah. That's what I always see. People that have chosen to do this work or move into psychology or social work or any kind of healing modality, nurse, whatever it is, there's always because your childhood has been fraught with many challenges and you have that as you become hyper intuitive as a form of protection and then you have this calling to want to help other people. I always see it. Like there's nobody that's been called into this work that has had like the happiest, best, amazing childhood in the world. Like it just I haven't seen it yet. They might do, but I haven't seen it yet. And that's part of
That's a
it.
really good point.
Yeah. Yeah. And have you,
That's
because
such a good
I work with, inner child healing, I work with ancestral healing, and I work with past life healing as well. Is there any, I don't know if you've worked on anything like that, but is there anywhere in the chart that will dictate or help explain some of the past lifetimes that you've maybe had? Because, in my world and how I perceive things, a lot of the challenges, the patterns, the wounds that we have, as well as our gifts come from all of these places. Like we are a multidimensional soul, and it isn't just this lifetime. It is what's being passed down through our ancestral line, through the DNA, and the imprints that we've experienced, and the things that we have carried over from other lifetimes as well, in Earth and other planetary realms. Is there anywhere in the chart that you can kind of see any of that or get an inkling to what that is? Because people are always interested in, hey, what's my past life? And it's not really necessarily about what's your past life, it's more around, okay, well, what have you brought over? What needs to heal? What needs to shift? Or what gift or experience have you had that you're here to continue to master? Is there anywhere in the chart that you've seen you can look at that?
right. Yeah, great question. So definitely many karmic areas of the chart. The few top ones, South Node, because that's like you've mastered this and now this is like Chiron. There's like a karmic wound you come into this life with. I've noticed in my work that Chiron is you're usually going to have a significant experience as a kid that activates this wound, but it is said to also be something karmically that comes in with you.
Hmm.
12th house as well, because this is the doorway to the end of life. It's the last house. So 12th house, and then moon sign. Jan Spiller, she's one of my favorite like modern evolutionary astrologers that I've learned a lot from. And she talks about how the moon sign can also be like what you went through emotionally or something, a lesson that you're carrying. So to recap, 12th house, moon sign, Chiron, and South Node.
Okay, amazing. And what about what's your
Yeah.
Chiron?
But I would say also,
Oh,
the fourth house can also be an indicator because this is ancestry.
okay.
Especially if someone has a Chiron placement in their fourth house, it's usually linked to a very deep like childhood or ancestry wound. Sometimes it can even be like you found out the truth about your family as you grew up, or you were adopted, or you didn't fully feel like you belonged where you came from.
Mm.
So yeah, I'd be interested. Do you know what your Chiron placement
Yes,
is?
Gemini in the fifth house.
Okay, interesting. Did you feel like you, okay, I would say, did you feel like you had to grow up kind of fast and you felt like your voice or the way that you communicated had to be tailored to fit a certain mold or be an element of performance in order to be like loved and accepted, or that you felt like you had to kind of grow up fast and
Yeah,
something like
definitely grew
that?
up fast and I was painfully shy as a kid. I know it was crazy to believe that, but yeah, it was true. Yeah, so communication has been a big theme for me. And speaking my truth as a child and having me not believed or protected, which I see as a theme with a lot of my clients and students as well, especially when a big block to opening up your psychic abilities and your intuitive abilities is speaking your truth and not being protected or not being believed or being shut down. So yes, that makes sense.
Wow. And yeah, you're a great example too of like, I had this wound and I got into the archetype of the teacher and the healer with Chiron of I'm going to be an example for all my audience of I overcame this and now I teach this for a living and help all of you. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's the huge part of our journey. That's why the healing and the psychic development is goes hand in hand. Absolutely. Because in our path, actually just living a path aligned with our soul, you have to do the inner healing. So that's why so much of my work is the healing, is the uncovering of the blocks, is going in and actually understanding where these come from and shifting them and removing them. So again, just with my intuitive work and my psychic and healing work, I'm able to see that with my clients and help move through that with spirit. And just like astrology, it's like you can also help pinpoint these potential challenges or themes or patterns or wounds that someone has that are playing out in their life. So it's just beautiful tools to help us understand ourselves and to come back to a place of wholeness. Like that's the beauty of all of these different modalities. And I just love it. I always love learning so much more.
And it's so nice to just learn, and then you combine multiple together and you see the thread between all of them. And just,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that everyone is eventually going to stumble across which modality is the easiest and most enjoyable for me to read from. Like for some people, it's human design. For some people, it's just through their intuitive gifts, like sitting with a person. For me, I really think that when I look at an astrology chart, it gives me like a map. But then as I'm reading it, and maybe a lot of other people can resonate too, there's just this intuitive thing because I know all the sign descriptions and aspects and everything. I don't say all of it to the person, but there's just one thing that sticks out in that moment. I'm like, boom, I have to say this to you.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. And that's how it works. Absolutely. With astrology, I mean, I started with numerology actually, very much like your experience of astrology. When I started reading all of my chart, I'm like, oh my God, this is me. When I was quite young, I was like, oh, like all these things make sense now. And that kind of, was part of my journey. But if you are an astrologer, you are using your intuition. You are naturally intuitive. So it's having this amazing process and guide, but then using your connection with your own soul and spirit, and you're reading the energy of their chart. Ultimately, that's what astrology is. It's the energy of someone's chart, but you're also reading the energy of them intuitively. So that's why, again, it's like you're here to create your own thing. And that's the beautiful personalized aspect of it. If you go to one astrologer, you're going to get something potentially you're going to get something different than going to another astrologer. It's just the same as if you go to a psychic or an intuitive or a medium, it's going to be a different experience because everyone has their own unique soul gift and how they're meant to work with a client and interpret that. And that's the beauty of like, that's why I always love to go and experience different other people's other healers, other intuitives, because I'm like, I want to experience your medicine, like just like people experience my medicine. I always want to experience everyone else's medicine. Like it's how I learn. It's how I get to receive from other people too, and it's just such a beautiful thing to see.
it really is. I definitely agree. I instantly think about tarot readings too. because so many tarot readers have their own like
Mm-hmm.
mediumship abilities and things, and
Mm-hmm.
you're able to just sit down with them, and all of the readings can be like completely different, but they each leave you with something so impactful. It's the same with all energy work. I think that's so beautiful. Just, you test the different modalities. And each stage of your life, I believe people are just intuitively guided towards who they're meant to work with. You might work with one person for like 5 years, and then eventually you're like, okay, I'm feeling a gravitational pull towards this other person or modality, and you can just kind of go around and see as you grow up.
Totally. Absolutely. Like I've worked with so many people, beautiful healers, beautiful mentors over my years. And even when I say to my clients and students now, it's like if you have a business, you might have someone, like I said, work with you for 12 months, but trust that when their time is done with you, their time is done with you, and they might come back, but they have other medicine to explore and experience, especially if you're on this, like if you're really on this journey, and that's what it's all about. We're here for the variety of everyone's magic.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go a little bit into because I know you talk about we've talked about entrepreneurship and spirituality, but I want to go a little bit more into brand and style because I know you talk about that like with how the chart can influence your style, your dress, how you show up, but can it also make you rethink your entire brand if you have a business? Is there any place in your chart that is if someone said to you, "Hey, can you have a look at my entire business brand? Is that in alignment with my chart?" What would you be looking at?
Oh my gosh, yes. So first of all, midheaven. Midheaven,
Mm.
midheaven, midheaven. Like you looking at what zodiac sign is on my midheaven and where is the ruling planet of that zodiac sign. And what's so funny is that I'll talk to business owners who have been doing their business for like 5 to 10 years or something, and they'll have gotten their website done multiple times. And then I present them a list of these are your best brand colors based off your midheaven, your rising, and your Venus. That's what I usually look at.
Mm.
Rising and midheaven specifically for brand colors, and then they'll be like, this is eventually what I stumbled on. Like I started using these colors. So the chart really can be a guide of what feels in alignment with you. And it's kind of like a fast track to it. Because eventually I think people are going to figure it out. Intuitively, you're going to see, oh, wait, this feels right to me because it's based off your energy. But the chart just puts it blatantly in your face of the deeper things you already knew about your brand. So, for example, as well as somebody has a north node is a huge thing in brand too. So if you have a, let's say, south node in Taurus, north node in Scorpio, then initially you might have started out your business of I'm going to do a lot of like earthy, grounded wellness stuff. And then over time, we're like, no, I want to do like shadow work for my brand. And we would look at that and say, okay, you are meant to do things that are more deeper, one-on-one, higher ticket. Scorpio is very higher ticket, high ticket, I mean. And you should work with less clients in a smaller container. You're not meant to be like for the masses. And there's some people who have a lot of Sagittarius energy in their chart that's very prominent. I'm like, okay, yeah, you should be in front of the masses, reaching more people all the time. So the risings, the whole chart matters, but midheaven, number one thing to look at.
Okay. My midheaven is in Scorpio, and then my
And you
Sag
already have like,
rising Sagittarius.
yeah, you already have a lot of the colors. The black, kind of the dark aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's like very like alchemy, like moody, intense, like shadow work. It like pulls people in. It has that magnetism too. Do you
Mm.
work with like reds or like ox blood or wine red too?
Yeah, yeah, I have that in the colors. Yeah. Yeah. And that's very much
Yeah.
like, yeah, what I'm kind of drawn to is like the undertones. If I'm putting like a cover on my reel, it'll be like the undertones of like the navy or the black or the kind of burgundy-esque. Yeah. Or like the purples. Yeah. Those are definitely what I'm drawn to. Because I work with the shadow. I go into the shadow so much with the work that I do, with the trauma that I help my clients with. And it's really interesting you said about because I'm like with my business clients, I'm the same. It's like we all have different archetypes. Some people are meant to be the healer and the psychic reader. Some people are meant to be the guide, the creator, the channel, the teacher. So we all have different archetypes, and how you're meant to work with clients is so unique to you. And you will notice if you are not in the right archetype or or creating something that is not in line with you, you will not feel good. Your energy will not feel good. I have clients that will do back-to-back healings. Like they are one-on-one, back-to-back, back-to-back. I couldn't think of anything worse. That is just like horrible for my energy. I know I'm here to work still one-on-one with my high ticket clients, and then also still group work, intimate work, but also speak to the masses, and I'm very much like the teacher energy, still with the intuitive reading energy, but doing it from like a more of a guide creator space. So yeah, it's really interesting. And as my business has evolved over the years, I started in one piece. I started in like very much the healer psychic. And then I was like, oh, doing these one-to-ones back to back is just that, my energy is just, that does not feel nice for me. And it's like, no, because you're here to teach, you're here to create programs, you're here to build, but then you're also still here to work very, very intensely and connected with, certain high level clients too. So yeah, it's an evolution when you're trying to figure out what you're meant to do and how you're meant to do it. But that's really cool that you can help tell that from your chart.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to ask you, is your midheaven not in like Pisces?
Mm, it says Scorpio,
Okay,
apparently.
maybe you're using whole house then, because usually in the type of astrology I use, like the angles, if
Uh,
you have a Sagittarius rising, then it's going to be all mutable signs on your angles.
oh, okay.
But yeah, so I just wanted to double check that.
Well, it
Because
says
because you
descendant
do
Gemini, Midheaven, Scorpio. Could be wrong though.
no, it's probably right. It's just there's different astrology systems too
Okay.
for how the chart is calculated. Because you do come across as very Scorpio, like you're saying, is that's how the public perceives you and what you're known for and the legacy you leave behind. It's that, I'm gonna work with you guys and I'm going to transform you through my healings, through my group work. And Scorpio energy, as you're saying too, it's very much like I can't work back to back to back. If anything, that's like more predominant Sagittarius, Aries is like I can keep going and going, and I'm just lit up by these interactions.
Mhm.
Even I'd be like surprised if someone could do that no matter their chart. That is hard work. I
That
would
is
definitely
hard
burn
work.
out with my chart.
For
Yeah.
sure. It's like I want to create things. I love creating things. So I need like space to just be and create and build and teach. And I love to see the transformation of my clients, as they upskill, as they shift through their certain things. So yeah, it's very much like the long-term dynamics and relationships that really like fuel me.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you need those connections and that trust that you build over time. I think that too, like Taurus and Scorpio is definitely, I need trust. I need stability. Like this is the loyal access of energy in the chart.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's so cool how the midheaven really projects that public persona. The rising in Venus, specifically, if anyone's like a content creator or forward facing for their brand, that's the style aspect of like, okay, what colors, textures, fabrics, accessories, makeup. And I really think that astrology nothing should ever box you in, right?
Yeah,
So when you hear this stuff online, it's like, okay, I'm going to look into what my descriptions say and I'm going to pick and choose like what feels good for me. You don't have to like everything. Like I have a lot of people who message me and they say, I know you're a Cancer Venus, but I don't love the super girly aesthetic. I'm like, you don't have to express it that way. Definitely not. Cancer Venus, for example, is very like comforting, home. So wear fabrics that move with you, that don't restrict you. It's like a Scorpio or an Aries is more like bold and style, kind of like snatched, like they can get away with the tighter things. It feels good on their skin. But if you have more water heavy placements, that restriction can really affect how you move and express yourself. So it's more of something that's meant to empower you to feel better in your body. It should never feel like, oh, I'm listing this and I'm using it like for everything. Yeah.
totally. Yeah. So for dressing for style, so what were the signs that people should look at? Was that Venus and rising?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Venus and rising.
And why those two specifically around, your style and how you dress and the colors and your appearance? Why those two specifically?
Yeah, so the rising sign, it can dictate some of our physical features, actually. Anything
Okay.
in the first house, planets there, because it is your first impressions. It's your physical body, it's your aura, it's the energy that you bring into the room when you first talk to somebody. And then your Venus sign is the planet of love, beauty, magnetism. It's the planet of what aesthetics are you also drawn to and what makes you like irresistible, like some of those qualities. And when we're leaning into those two things, we can present to make, good aligned first impressions that match our aura and how our natural energy wants to move across the room. And
Mm.
then when we're doing our Venus sign, it kind of highlights like, what's that little thing about me that not everybody has that's attractive that I can highlight? Not what's conventionally like aesthetic and all that, but what do I have to offer?
Yeah.
So those two are going to be key.
So what have you noticed? Are there any particular signs that you could talk about with um, that you've seen that people highlight or are common things that people should be highlighting depending on their Venus or rising? So like my Venus is
Yes.
Virgo and my rising is Sagittarius, for example. What does that mean for me?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think one thing I would say is collecting things from your travels or thrifting is a really good form of self-expression for you, is like combining different things. Sagittarius is very much like explorative. So how can I add in like different prints or elements or necklaces or symbols of faith in my outfits? Wear this piece of jewelry that I got from abroad. Adding those things in and making it kind of fun is really important for Sagittarius. Also, things that move with you. Sometimes it's very much the bohemian aesthetic. And then with Virgo, so the Venus really does matter because this is quite the opposite,
I know.
it's like sleek,
Taylor.
but it's tailored exactly. It's like sleek hair put together, but it's also natural, which matches with Sagittarius. So how can I wear things that feel like natural to me, or that, wearing things that feel good on my skin, taking care of my skincare is going to be really important. Quality fabrics. So whatever outfits you're buying, make sure like more is less is more for you. Quality over quantity. Investing in pieces because that gives your Venus a sense of self-respect. Sometimes with Virgo Venus, that self-critic we talked about earlier. So when you invest in clothing or accessories, it's a form of intention saying, I am worthy of this. I'm going to wear this and I deserve things that I love. So that's really important. I would also just say for Virgo is, you know, sleek colors, navies, blacks, browns, earth tones, all of that.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. I love that. And what is yours? And what does that mean for you?
Pi- yeah, Pisces rising, Cancer Venus.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so both water signs. It's very much for me, it feels like I have to be comfortable in my clothing. I
Mm.
need a lot of flow. I can't have too much restriction. Elements of lace, lighter colors, blues is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Also, naturally, I was just born with the type of hair that I can't really slick back and it look good. And I think that's on purpose with the Pisces. So just kind of more messy hairstyles. Usually it's hard for me to get my hair like this, actually. So yeah, more kind of free flowing bohemian, like beach, um, softer colors.
Mm. And does this, do you, okay, so this is the question around style. Do you think entrepreneurs should dress differently depending on their chart versus like not being? Or is it all kind of the same thing? It's all like, let's look at your Venus and rising and the style and the texture choice and the color choice can fit you no matter if you are an entrepreneur and you have like a brand aesthetic or not. Is it kind of mutable, interchangeable?
It's exactly that everyone should be wearing it because it's like it's your natural energy
Mm.
signature. So, what's interesting about brands is when you get to the point where it's not your own personal brand and you're not the face of it, your brand can have a chart And then
Mm-hmm.
that brings a whole different layer into the question of, okay, what's the birth chart of my brand and what's its Midheaven? And how can I do the color palette for the physical product around that? But I don't think that you work with a lot of people who have a physical product, right? Or do you work with all kinds?
Mostly service providers, their own brand, but I do have clients, like I have a client that has a neuroscience company. So they have a product, they have a neuroscience technology. So yes. I have another client who's also building product. But yeah, majority is our service providers, that their own personal brands.
Yeah, so definitely for personal brand, just personal chart. But that's really cool with the neuroscience. You get to work with all different types of people. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And obviously from my background within digital media marketing and technology, like career consulting, all of my clients were like some amazing forward-thinking brands, you know, within technology, within digital, within um yeah, just like advertising technology. I got to work with some amazing minds in some really interesting tech, whether that was financial technology or, you know, just things that are just innovative and shifting the needle when it comes to how we operate in the world in these different kind of areas. So yeah, so I have a leaning towards also still working with clients that are building technologies or have consultancies around technologies as well. Like that's kind of still bled in a little bit with some of the work that I do. But yeah, other than that, it's a lot of my clients that have businesses are healers, are coaches, are spiritual entrepreneurs or teachers, very much within that sphere. So yeah, it's kind of I still straddle both sides because I can talk I can talk both languages ultimately.
Definitely. And that must be like really healing too, or just feel good to have people who come from a similar background to you or a similar story because you can connect. Like, and then you're in this stage of your life teaching spirituality, and you're like, okay, I've been where you are, and this is what I'm doing right now. So you're integrating those worlds and those parts of yourself together, which is
Totally.
so entrepreneurial, Sagittarius, like bringing it all together.
And you'd be surprised how many of my clients are ex-recruiters because I was like, you get it. You know, some of my closest clients worked in recruitment because it's like, of course, you understand. And then they've opened up their spirituality and now they're, you know, healers, psychics, channelers, coaches. You know, we all come from a background. So yeah, it makes sense. And I still have the inroads there, which is really, really cool.
Yes.
Speaking about that as well, actually, I'll let you go. Um, Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Like if there was a piece of advice or someplace in the chart that, you know, my audience who is spiritually opening, spiritually developing from, you know, from all different layers of their journey, what is something that you would share with them? Or what is something that you point them to within their chart that would be super helpful for them to kind of go away and have a bit of a takeaway from this?
Yeah. So one takeaway is, where do you have Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio in your chart?
Mm,
And even if it's just ruling a single house, you're going to have that energy somewhere in your chart because this is where most of your intuitive gifts lie. You know, if you have it in your seventh house of partnerships, there's this like psychic connection that you feel when you're around other people. Like one-on-ones are going to be so magical for you. So just see like, where's the water energy in my chart and what themes is it pointing towards in my psychic journey?
I love that. I love that. So if it was in the first house, if they had them in the first house, what would that look like within their journey?
So that really puts spirituality as like the forefront of a big life path for you. So you're going to probably be guided. It depends on the sign, but for Pisces, for example, you're going to be guided towards a lot of situations where you just kind of have to surrender. So this is like, I would say you're extra psychically sensitive. So learn about energy protection and really do it as a daily ritual. And some of your most healing psychic downloads are going to come from when you're working with your physical body.
Mm,
So seeing like, how does my spiritual practice work with my physical body and kind of blending those modalities together? That makes
love
sense.
that. Yeah, absolutely. And what about the ninth house?
So you're going to learn a lot of your spirituality through traveling. You're probably going to go to a retreat and you're going to get your spiritual awakening through that, or travel to a certain place and the energy just feels magic. or you pick up a book one day and then it just changes your life. This is the house of publishing, foreign lands, global travel, all of that. And philosophy can be a big theme. Like maybe you listen to Neville Goddard and they just change your mindset around manifestation and you completely change your life from that.
Love. Amazing. I love that. Yeah, because I've got, what do I have? Scorpio in the 10th house and my moon, Scorpio in 9th house and Saturn, Scorpio in my midheaven. Yeah, only Scorpio, none of the other water signs.
Scorpio's like, this is like you, Scorpio gets their like psychic intuitive gifts from real life experience. Like you were pushed to your limits or you had to deal with something that you developed like your spiritual abilities to get through, where you had to kind of use spiritual concepts to move through. And then it's like you can help others transform, or you went into the shadow work, confronting like the other sides of yourself, the scary parts of life. So you're like this like you transmute energy. This is alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much. Where can everyone find you? And do you have anything coming up? Anything you want to guide them to?
Yeah, so definitely follow my YouTube channel for a lot of breakdowns deep into astrology. I go through like all the signs on every single video.
Amazing.
All of my social medias are at Amelie's Advice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a free Venus and Rising Sign style guide on my website. It's ameliesadvice.com. And so you can just browse that. And then all my one-on-one readings and my guides and all of that are going to be on there.
Amazing. And I'll put all of your details in the show notes below so everyone can just go and click on those links there. Again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was such a really interesting conversation. There's so many things that I didn't know about astrology, that I'm like, oh, I feel like I want to go dive into this now. So yeah, so good. So good. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for having me. Thanks for reaching out and everything and holding space and just asking beautiful questions. Like you really facilitated a space where we could just go into all these different, like really interesting spiritual topics. So thank you.
You are so welcome.